upgraded our PowerPoint presentation big time. And we got a couple of videos in there. We're gonna be touching, of course, as firefighters and first responders, if you haven't dealt with killer bees, you're new here, right? Because they're everywhere and they're absolutely horrible and evil. Again, I'm Reed Booth for all of you who don't know who I am, which would be rare after this many decades in this county.
Can you overemphasize every time you use the word bee?
Yeah, well, what happens? I have to.
Can you overemphasize every time you use the word bee?
Of course, it's in the manual, yes, indeed, bee and beehive yourself. I need some new material, by the way, if anybody came up with anything. Oh, God. So we're going to be covering what they are, history and spread, how the behavioral traits, it's not just aggression, okay? Impact on humans and agriculture, and also, of course, especially for these guys, management and control measures. So, Hosh is over there gonna be operating the slideshow, and so, we've done this a few times. Introduction to killer bees. And here we go. So, where the hell did they come from? They were created, all right, these are man-made. They were created in Brazil in 1957 at the request of the Brazilian government. They wanted this guy to make a better bee, a better honeybee, because they wanted to be on the world production stage as far as honey production goes, because the pure African bee was known to produce more honey. Well, that worked, but of course we got some other wrenches in the issue that we didn't know was going to happen. So they crossbred the pure African, it's actually a South African honeybee, with the European honeybee, and the crossbreeding led to the Africanized. Now they're called Africanized because the dominant gene is the African gene. It's just science, it's just genetics, is all it is. So the African bees, all right, they wanted to cross them because of a couple major things, and that is they are better honey producers, especially in jungle conditions. European bees are sickly. They always have been. They're nice, they're calm, they don't try to kill you every 2 seconds, but they're sickly. And so you gotta read them bedtime stories, it's horrible, they're very sensitive. And so these guys that were super disease resistant, produced a lot of honey, better at tolerating not just jungle conditions in Brazil, but everything. And here's our problem, yeah, better defenders of the hive. Whereas of course the European bees, all the fun stuff that's sickly and didn't make a lot of honey. So the trade-off is becoming more and more evident as time goes on. So they wanted to become more of a honey producing company. They were off, they didn't even register on the world honey producing charts. Now, it worked. They're huge. At what cost? All right, and it's not just cost to humans. We'll go into that in a minute. So the guy that created these things, he was a responsible scientist, Dr. Warwick Kerr. He had them in an enclosed area. He was experimenting with the crossbreeding, and there are ways that we can keep hives from swarming, which is nature's way of propagating the area with bees. Now the queen is bigger, and the old queen that you have in a hive has to leave with 10 or 20% of the bees in that hive to start a new hive. So to prevent her from doing that and taking them away, we have a screen that we put at the entrance to the hive that she can't get through, but the other bees can, the worker bees can. They have to wriggle through it though. Oh God, so a guy that didn't read the memo that morning, the good doctor went on a conference in Sao Paulo in like 1957 or 58, and this guy saw all the screens on those experimental hives and thought, oh, those bees are having trouble wriggling through there, and he pulled all the screens off the hives, and that's how it started. A simple, stupid thing like that. So when people say they escaped, it was let out by ineptness. All right, again, here we go. So after they were released, they spread out in every direction about 300 miles a year. Well, south and west from Brazil, not that far. North, quite a ways. All right, they tried to stop them at the Isthmus of Panama and couldn't because they hitchhike. Swarms of bees, balls of bees will hitchhike. Ships, planes, trains, automobiles, etc. Invaded Texas in 91, Arizona in 93, although there's some debate on that, of course, that we think they were here earlier than that, but that's official. Now, by 1998, it was determined by the labs in Tucson that all of them were Africanized in the state of Arizona. Done deal. Don't send us any more samples, we're throwing them away. Done deal. All the way back then, in 98. So what we've been having to contend with now is how they've been adapting and changing over those years. And I've been dealing with them since the very beginning, because I was keeping bees in the late 80s and early 90s up by the tunnel in Bisbee. And by the mid 90s, about 95, I stopped. Because I used to watch clouds of my bees, which were Africanized at that point, chase cars down Highway 80. And I was like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this anymore. And everybody stopped keeping bees at that time. It was just too dangerous. And it's only gotten worse, of course. Way back in even 2018, there was a stinging incident in Manchester, New Hampshire. Yes, they adapt and change. We're going to be going into that more. So stare at these two pictures. We want to see what the difference between a European honeybee and an Africanized honeybee is. All right, so if you can tell me what the difference is between these two. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, there is no difference. You can't tell by looking. That's the point. You can't, it's genetic. People ask endlessly, of course. You know, we live stream our killer beehive removals on all the platforms that we can, trying to get as much information out there as possible. And many, many people, including small beekeepers, are like, how can I tell the difference? You can't. It's a problem. It's a serious issue. They look exactly the same. The difference is genetic. And on top of that, you can't tell from how they're behaving at this exact moment if they're Africanized or not. See, everybody thinks killer bees, oh, they have to be attacking you all the time, every time that you walk outside. No, no other critter on this planet behaves the same all the time, nor the species. Same thing with these guys. Why would it be different? So how they're behaving right now also has nothing to do with their genetics. So there are three basic ways that honeybees exist, and that is the commercially kept honeybees, the backyard beekeeper, and feral honeybees, which is what we deal with mostly, all right, is feral hives. We do have a video here where we did deal with a small backyard beekeeper in Bisbee a couple of years ago up the gulch. She had one hive and it lit up, and you'll see what happened. It's the case against backyard beekeeping. The commercially kept honeybees. Honeybees are listed as livestock. They're classified as livestock by the USDA. Yeah, that's all they are, is livestock. They're good for pollinating. They're a big crop area, monocropping and big ag. That's all that honeybees are good for in the Western Hemisphere, because as we'll go into in a little bit, which is quite an eye-opener for most people, honeybees are invasive to the Western Hemisphere. Before 1872, there were no honeybees in Arizona, ever. And when we think of honeybees, we think of, you know, the nice ones we used to love and all that, European honeybees. Okay, wait a minute, European honeybees. Never heard of a Texas honeybee, or a Southwestern honeybee, or a Latin American honeybee. No, never heard of it. It's because they didn't exist. They were brought here in the 1600s. We have found letters written by colonists back to Europe saying, send my honeybees, there aren't any here. Honeybees are invasive to the Western Hemisphere. And they got into California first, actually, because of the gold rush. So back when they were nice and fuzzy and gave us honey and didn't try to kill us every 20 minutes, and I call it Winnie the Pooh glasses, well, we didn't really pay much attention to what the invasive species of European honeybees did to native environment. An invasive species has never benefited the native environment they've invaded, ever. So it's becoming very clear now with Africanized, because there are no more bumblebees in Tucson because of Africanized honeybees. They are driving out our native pollinators. This is really an interesting subject for people to get their heads around, is, wait a minute, no honeybees? What did people do before that? Well, there was never any honey in the Western Hemisphere. All right, all stinging honeybees in South America, Central America, everywhere they were brought and spread out, invaded. But we had our native pollinators for pollinating our native plants. All right, it's going to come, it'll make more sense. So the European honeybees were just simply a destructive invasive species. All right, they outcompete our native bees for food, same thing as the Africanized. All these things are the same, as in they can literally devastate native pollinators within miles of their hive. European honeybees need about a 2-mile radius to forage and devastate, and over-collect. They are Vikings and hoarders. They take more than they need. Whereas African eyes need about a 3-mile radius. But on top of that, as we know, as you guys first responders, they kill people, pets, and livestock. Every week in Cochise County in the summer, they kill a dog, a horse, or a goat. I watched one hive one time kill a 1,000-pound hog. It's incredible. They're absolutely horrible. So they went from being just a destructive invasive species to being a deadly invasive species, oh joy. But it really brought the attention to our brains about they're not just out to kill us and our livestock and pets. No, they're horrible for our native pollinators. Absolutely. We have a special relationship with the flowers, which we'll go into in a bit also. This is a vid, a very educational vid. It's actually made in Germany, but it pertains to this invasive species that we're talking about. So sit back and enjoy this.
They're weird, fuzzy, and in a lot of trouble.
Everybody here?
These insects are actually all bees, wild ones. And they're debatably more important than the honey-making kind. People are really worried about bees. But what most people don't know, honeybee numbers are increasing worldwide. Not just that, but the way humans use honeybees makes them a problem. Putting a honeybee hive in your backyard doesn't help. Because we're saving the wrong bees. Animals are involved in the pollination of 90% of the world's flowering plants. And when you think of pollinators, the honeybee probably comes to mind. That's because honeybees and humans have an ancient relationship. Bees have been managed for thousands of years.
There's a lot of evidence that it's played an important role also in the ancient cultures in Egypt and in Greece. And so beekeeping has always been very widespread.
Axel is the chair of the Invertebrate Conservation Committee at the IUCN. Honeybees are native to Asia, Europe, and Africa, but nowadays are everywhere except Antarctica. Apis mellifera is the most common honeybee and the best studied, although there are another 10 known species. They're general pollinators, meaning they will pollinate most plants. And although honeybees are at risk from pests and disease, the number of colonies worldwide is actually growing. According to the FAO, managed hives have increased worldwide by 83% since 1961.
Because they have always managed by the beekeepers and also received veterinary treatment and so on, there's no risk that they will become extinct.
But honeybees aren't the only bees.
The general public confounds bees with the honeybee.
This is Isabel, a pollination ecology researcher specializing in urban environments.
It would be the same situation if, for example, we were talking about birds and people think that when you talk about birds, we talk about chicken.
There are around 20,000 different species of wild bees, and they are the most important wild pollinators. They're mostly solitary, and unlike honeybees, are suited to specific plants, which makes them much better at pollinating. A hectare of apples, for example, would require tens of thousands of honeybees to pollinate, but only hundreds of this wild bee, because Osmia cornuta is particularly good at apple pollination.
Each flowering plant is strongly connected to a pollinator that fits accordingly to the lock and key principle.
An entomologist by training, Sabrina is a project manager at the Research Institute of Organic Agriculture.
This perfect fit between flower and its selected pollinator is the product of an ongoing co-evolution for centuries that is still operating.
Like the squash bees native to Central and South America. They're perfectly suited to squash plants. They're early risers, and squash flowers are only open early in the morning, while the honeybees are still asleep. Don't like squash? How about tomatoes, potatoes, or eggplant? These crops also need wild pollinators, loud ones like bumblebees to be precise. Their flowers require a vibrating buzz to release their pollen, something a bumblebee perfectly provides. Honeybees just don't have that skill. But wild bees are in serious decline. And this doesn't only affect them and their ecosystems, but our food security as well. Worldwide, Wild bee diversity has been decreasing each year since the 1990s. Pesticides, intensive agriculture, and especially habitat loss are main drivers. A recent study found that we may have already lost a quarter of wild bee species, but assessment is hard due to the lack of global data. Various regional estimates suggest over 40% of wild bee and butterfly species are threatened. Farmers are already noticing a difference.
When they walked along a field, everything was full of pollinators. And nowadays it's more like everything is calmed down and nobody knows where they are.
This loss of diversity can cause knock-on effects on whole ecosystems. Less pollinator diversity means fewer wild plants. This can hurt animals that use them for food or shelter. And it's also bad for the future of our food.
The yield of fruit plants is higher when they are visited by a variety of pollinators compared to when they are visited by only honeybees.
Remember Osmia cornuta, the apple specialist?
Most of the pollination of apple trees is performed by several species of wild bees. So if you don't get these wild bees, you would get a crop of apples that would be reduced.
U.S. crops are already producing less due to wild pollinator decline. And globally, we're planting more and more of the crops that require animal pollination, like fruits, vegetables, and oilseeds. The increase in honeybees hasn't kept up. This means pollinator dependence has increased around 70% since 1961. And combined with the decline in wild pollinators, means an emergency for the global food supply. This is especially true in countries with many large monocultures that destroy wild pollinator habitats, like China and the United States. Not only that, the way we use honeybees actually makes them a part of the problem. According to the American Beekeeping Federation, 2/3 of the 2.7 million honeybee colonies in the US are used for pollination. Most go to the almond fields in California, where 80% of the world's almonds come from. Then bees rotate around the country to pollinate other crops. Nowhere else in the world uses honeybees for pollination like the US, but the trend is growing in Europe too as wild pollinators disappear. Unfortunately, it's not so good for the honeybees. They can be exposed to pesticides from the crops or catch diseases from the other colonies. And these honeybees are also a threat to wild ones.
Within a honeybee hive, you have tens of thousands of individuals that eat a lot of food. They will eat most of the floral resources, and there will not be enough left for the other pollinating species.
If you have many bees, then they will probably outcompete with native species very fast.
Honeybees can also spread disease to wild bees. An infected bee can leave some virus on a flower to be picked up by the next wild bee that visits. It's not the honeybee's fault, but save the bees definitely does not mean adding more into the environment.
There have been a lot of people that thought that they could only save the bees when having their own beehive in the backyard, and that's the wrong way to conserve pollinators.
So what's the right way? Industrial agriculture is the biggest threat to all bees. It uses harmful chemicals and relies on huge fields of one crop. Ideally, we change our whole food system, but on a personal level, supporting small-scale sustainable farmers, if viable, also supports diverse habitats for wild bees. Even more can be done with the backyard, like leaving native plants alone or planting new ones. Open, sunny ground or dead logs also make great breeding spots for wild bees. But most of all, they need more attention. We need honeybees but aren't in danger of losing them. With wild bees, it's another story.
Did you have any?
They're weird.
So what we're trying to stress is the honeymoon's over. You know, I mean, they're bad. They're bad. People still ask us when we do removals, which is every day. It used to be from Halloween until the middle of March, we wouldn't get a call. There would be nothing. But these bees have been adapting and changing every single year, mainly more aggressive. I don't know how much more aggressive they can get. But people are you gonna relocate my bees? No, we're not gonna, we don't relocate a deadly invasive species or a destructive invasive species. It's really hard to get people to understand because honeybees, we just think they're absolutely wonderful, they give us honey and things. Well, to make people understand they are invasive is really difficult, and what we're trying. So anyway, there are so many, there are more honeybees right now in the US than have ever been. When people say save the bees, which ones, right? Save the bees, it'd be like saying, save the grasses. And everybody here, especially as first responders, know what buffalo grass is. You know, it's a horrible invasive species, and that's why our wildfires are so hot in the West now, it's because of buffalo grass. It'd be like saying, save the grasses and planting a half acre of buffalo grass. Well, you're not gonna do that, for God's sake. Same thing with honeybees. Now, we know that Big Ag relies on honeybees for pollination. If you've got 1,000 acres of almond trees, you need honeybees for pollination. All right, that's all there is to it. The big boys that to have 10,000 hives and they haul them around for pollination, they know what they're doing. They breed their own queens in-house. If they get a hot hive, which is what we call Africanized hives, they destroy them. They don't like them. I mean, if they're not too hot, because not every hive is as mean as the next hive, they're all different, but they have that potential to blow up, they will kill them and re-queen and they raise their own queens. They know what they're doing. They're the professionals. The backyard beekeeper, unfortunately, just thinks they know what they're doing, and it's a real problem. Now, once again, all of the feral hives in Arizona are Africanized, and on top of that, you'll see this ARS 36-601. Yeah, well, here it is. Yeah, it's actually a law on the books. Not an idea, it's a law. I helped write it years ago, and the state hates these things, like I do, and like you guys should. It states here, or any condition or place that constitutes a feral colony of honeybees that is not currently maintained by a beekeeper and poses a threat or safety hazard to the public. Legally, if you have a hive of bees under your shed, or in a tree, or in a tire in the backyard, legally, you have to have it removed in the state of Arizona. I'm an expert witness, and every case I've ever been on where the person knew they had a hive in the backyard and they attacked someone, they lost. The state hates them, and with good reason. I mean, they've chased our truck for 10 miles after a bad removal. So if you have a feral hive on your property, legally you have to have it removed. Now, as first responders, you can use that if people have a hive that are giving people problems up here and they just refuse, oh, they aren't bothering anyone, we need them. No, we don't. You guys can pull this out of your hats and say, ARS 36-601, you have to get rid of this hive.
I have a question on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we had somebody call and we went over to check it out. It was in their neighbor's house,
Yep,
but their neighbor didn't live in Arizona. They were up in Alaska.
yeah, this happens a lot.
So is that something you guys can still come in to remove even if
Well,
it's in somebody else's house?
you know, if the house, like, if we go what we used to do more of it in winter, we call it bee hunting. Because, you know, once you do this for 30 years, it gets under your skin. It's kind of like firefighting. It's like, you know, this is exciting. So if we don't have any calls for a while, we drive around the county and stop at abandoned places and just, check for, I mean, we have a fire truck. We can stop wherever we want, right? It's awesome. It really is. Don't try this at home. Anyway, we'll go to the ArcGIS. We'll look on the website and find out who owns what. And if it's some corporation out in the middle of nowhere, out in New York or whatever, and it's just an abandoned property, we'll go in and remove it, yes. We do try to locate the owner, absolutely.
So we should still let you know when situations like
Yes,
that arise?
absolutely, because then we'll do that background research to find out who owns the property and put a light a fire under their butt, as it were. Firefighters, okay, you get it? Anyway, and try to force them to get rid of them, because they are a deadly threat. They will kill a kid. They don't know fences and boundaries, as you guys know. They don't care about what kind of uniform you're wearing either, So yes, still let us know, because we do encounter that with abandoned properties out here all the time, and it's a pain in the butt, An average hive now of these damn things is double what they used to be. An average hive used to have 50,000 of them in it. Now, average hive has 100,000 bees in it. We've seen them come out of a hole like that at 1,000 per second. like somebody turned on a high-pressure water hose. It's horrifying. It's just literally horrifying. So, behavioral traits. Now, swarming, of course, everybody knows what that is, nature's way of dividing and conquering. You've got a hive, all right? 10 or 20% of the bees take off, go find a new place to live. You still have that hive. That's what a swarm is, as you guys know, you've all seen them. 7 to 10,000 bees in a swarm. They act as an organism. When they move into a new place, they don't move in a dozen at a time. I've watched a ball like that disappear into a hole the size of your thumb in 30 seconds. It's like someone pouring liquid in it. It's just amazing. So nature's way of propagating their bees. Another problem with these Africanized honeybees is they do it a lot more often, which we'll go into in a minute also. European honeybees would do it 5 or 6 times a year left to their own devices. These guys, 30 times a year. That's for every hive underneath that shed that's torturing the neighbors. 30 new hives are being put out. There's no shortage of these damn things, unfortunately. So it's nature's way of propagating. 10 to 20% take off. The virgin queen emerges from queen cells, and the old queen, who's already been on a mating flight, takes off and with the 10 or 20%. So she doesn't have to think about going on a mating flight. There are 3 rooms that are not in the, 3 areas that do not exist in a hive. There's no boudoir, no sex in the hive. There's no bathroom, they'd rather die than shit in a hive. And no cemetery. They always take their data out, all right? So it's totally dog eat dog. I mean, it's totally vicious, of course. The first queen that's born will go around and kill any queens in their cells, so she's the only one. It's totally brutal, totally brutal. So the surviving virgin queen goes on a mating flight. 1 flight in her lifetime. Up to 5 years she'll live. So she goes on a mating flight, and she emits a queen pheromone, and will attract drones or males from quite a radius, a few mile radius, and all these drones will come in for the party. Well, she will mate with 2 or 3 dozen of them. All right? Mating occurs in flight, and it's not pretty. You'll see what happens here in a second, okay? This is, you know, not R-rated, but it's B-rated, okay? I've been working on that one, okay, guys, come on. That's literally what happens. He explodes and dies, literally, and leaves his genitalia inside of her. All right, from that one mating flight, she'll lay a couple thousand eggs every day for up to 5 years. It's total sci-fi, total science fiction, from one mating flight. So if you're a nice European, this is how if you're a beekeeper and you have a nice European hive and you don't keep an eye on it, it's unmanaged, and your queen goes away with the swarm and your virgin queen goes out, and any Africanized hive in the area, their drones are much better at catching up to a queen and mating with her. She'll come back, even though she's a European queen, she has Africanized sperm, and she'll start laying Africanized eggs, and in 3 weeks, your hive's gone to shit, because that's about how long it takes for them to start hatching. Yeah, so you can't, it's next to impossible to keep your European hive, your backyard hive, from becoming Africanized. Next to impossible, which we have a whole bit on that, you'll see. Now this, okay, swarms. You know, you saw the typical size. Yeah, classic. Okay, I've seen all sorts of shit in the 30 years I've been doing this, 35 years. This was down on Wilson Road, Naco, and I'd never seen anything like it, never seen anything since. Check this out, solid bees, millions in one hive. I don't know what portal to hell they came from, all Africanized.
The small one here.
There's a swarm here, Frank. The trunk was covered. Hi, Jim. That's all solid bees. I don't even know what's going on here.
Right here. They're here. Thank you, executive.
Look at this. It only takes 500 stings to equal a rattlesnake bite. There's millions of them here. I don't know what was happening. Look at that.
Could we get a big garbage bag or two out of the back?
And of course, once we start getting there and they emit the attack pheromone, they start getting a little goofy.
Look at this, Trev. This is solid beef. Look at this. That is solid bees. Pull up there now. Feel it. Put your hand under there.
Oh, wow.
Put your hand under there. No, not my hand.
Wow, okay, that's my hand.
I'm glad that's not the
It feels
norm.
like I'm holding a small bag of sugar, kind of.
Like a what?
Small bag of sugar?
Look at that.
Oh my gosh.
Don't care. I mean, this is insane. Oh, they're all coagulating.
The point being that every time we get a call, kind of like you guys, you have your basic idea of what you're getting into, but there might be some anomalies, there might be something weird, we never know what we're getting into. You know, I mean, it just can always be weird. Another weird thing that's happened as far as change of behavior goes is where these doggone things are built. Now, European honeybees would, in the past, would never ever build like out in front of God and everybody, on a tree limb or even under the eaves of a house. They didn't want to. They want to get into something, under something. That's out the window. That's completely out the window. These things, as you'll see in this short vid, will build anywhere. This is down north of Elfrida. And if you look way up there, yeah, check this vid out. This is bizarre.
Pond orchard out in.
Do you see that? It's like right kind of in center of the cameras. See the slightest bit of yellow, because there's like.
Full on hive, 100,000 bees,
They're sneaking up on it.
25 foot up. Oh joy.
Go, guys.
Pizza oven. We didn't do anything, we just opened the door.
I think we got a class
Wilcox.
here.
Up on Key Lane, under the eaves of the house.
Smoke doesn't work. We don't smoke after.
Just the sheer aggression of them, just unbelievable. Agave stumps, they love to live in stumps. They almost killed the homeowner the day before. He was mowing his lawn. Under a house, Hereford. That's just classic nightmare shit right there.
Boiling full of bees. Look at the size of that.
Connex.
Guys.
This is up at Curry Farms.
More hives here. There's another one.
Right over that's place.
Treated, and then one further down the line. So this
Curry Farms had 26 infestations last summer alone. 26. Yeah.
We be doing it now.
Naco,
We used to do that.
Fort Newell.
Texas, I think that's the next one. Any situations we're in.
Washing machine. And there was a dryer next to it completely full of same. They were not Maytag, they were Honeywells. Thank you. Be here all week, probably. Mean bees. We class them from a class 1 to a class 5, with 5 used to be the meanest. We had to add a class 6 this year because of the Dragoon Baptist bees. We had bees in the Dragoon Church in the soffit up there. Hosh and I were up 15 foot on ladders tearing the soffit out 3 feet away from each other, couldn't see each other. Absolutely vicious. It's getting worse as far as aggression goes. They, of course, everybody knows this, valve boxes. They love to live in these damn things. It's a perfect home for bees. Still as deadly as can be, all right? And they can pack an entire hive in there, obviously. We encounter them all week long and all year round now. It used to be just in the summer. So, what to do when they attack? Well, we used to be able to track it down to they attack dark colors and all this kind of thing. Apparently they'll attack anything for any reason or in our eyes unprovoked. They're attacking weed whackers from 100 yards away routinely now, 100 yards away. Of course, any sound, color of clothing, why do beekeepers wear white? In Europe, Asia, and Africa, where honeybees are from, that's where they're native, they're not to the Western Hemisphere. Where they're from, their natural enemies are mostly dark furry things. All right, bears, honey badgers, etc. Over the eons, they've developed the ability to attack dark furry things. All right, so this is why beekeepers wear white to begin with. That's it. So, also CO2, they go for the CO2 coming out of your nose and mouth. The whole theory behind that is, what's the most sensitive part on a mammal? Nose and mouth. So they attack the CO2 coming out of your nose and mouth. I've done experiments where I'll have a tube inside my bee suit from my mouth down to my boot with a screen on the end, and they'll attack my boot because I'm breathing through it. Breathing through that tube. All right, they have vibrations, we all know that, weed whackers, engines, diesel, all that. Bad sense of humor, well, mine, that's all I have, so I just assume they're attacking it. Fragrance, they absolutely hate fragrance. They hate shampoos, conditioners. I don't know why they absolutely detest Old Spice. Go figure, I don't get it. But one time I was talking with an old rancher gal down here. She'd lost a horse. Might have been Norma personally, actually, I can't remember. And yeah, it was Norma, actually, before she passed away. I don't know if you guys knew her down in Bisbee area, old ranchers down to the Pursleys. And I told that to her. I said, and they add, because her son Jimmy wore Old Spice. And I said, and they absolutely hate Old Spice. And she walked away and tipped her cowboy hat and said, who don't? I laughed so hard at the time, my God. So they hate fragrance, any kind of fragrance. I think they just hate everything, actually. So the queen bee can sting, but there's only one of her normally. That's another anomaly we're seeing. But when they're at war, they will protect her. All right. So she'll only do that under great duress. Drone bees they can't sting. Their rear end's only good for one thing, as you saw in that other video. The worker bees, on the other hand, those are the ones that attack en masse. They do all the work. They're called workers for a reason. All right, they will sting, and they can only sting once. They're still honeybees. All right, but they are the only Hymenoptera, which includes wasps and hornets and whatnot, with a barbed stinger. It's like a fish hook. That's why it sticks in your skin. Wasps and hornets don't have that. That's why they can sting over and over again. All right, the whole thing is pheromones with these guys. The venom contains the attack pheromone. So when you get stung, all right, you are the target. Now, I've seen the air so saturated after multiple stings with pheromone, attack pheromone, they're stinging birds flying overhead, telephone poles, and tires on trucks. It's mayhem. But that initial sting, that's the target. And so they will fly past everyone else to try to kill you. On top of that, you cannot wash that pheromone off your skin. It's subcutaneous, it goes into your bloodstream. So for up to a week, depending on your metabolism, you're marked. And you guys may have heard this out here in rural, especially with the ranchers and cowboys, where they'll get stung, and then a few days later, they're still running inside the house when they walk by that hive. It's because they're marked. So you can't wash it off your skin. So the behavior, of course, foraging and scout bees, those are bees out on flowers. They will forage in up to a 3-mile radius from their hive for forage, and they collect 4 things they bring back to the hive. Everybody thinks it's just 2 things, nectar and pollen. Nectar turned into honey, of course, and pollen, food source. They also bring back water, and about this time of year, certain of our junipers and evergreens produce sap, and they bring the sap back and turn it into propolis, which is the glue that holds the hive together. All right, so again, a much larger radius, up to 3 miles. Now, after we do any removal, and we explain all this to every single customer, as you guys probably know, we're very inclusive in that. There are bees left over. People are always like, oh my God, the bees that you just didn't kill are gonna go off and torture someone else. That's not how it works. We call the bees left over from any removal, it's like herding cats, you're not gonna get them all, right? We call those the remnant bees, because they're leftovers. They're leftovers of the hive. But the analogy that I use is they're like an amputated limb. All right, you can live without your finger, but your finger cannot live without you. And the analogy runs through. People ask, are my remnant bees going to go join another hive? If your finger's amputated, it can't crawl over to another human and join that human. All right, they belong to that organism. Are my remnant bees going to start a new hive? Your finger can't crawl away and start a new human. Same thing. They belong to that organism only. They're like individual cells of an organism, but when that attack pheromone goes through the hive, they turn into white blood cells. All of them. Total kamikaze mission. Every sting is a death sentence for the bee. All right, so the remnant bees are going to come back from the field. With a normal hive, you got 2,000 to 5,000 bees out working in the field at any time. They're going to come back along with all the bees that come out to fight us. And they're going to come back and go, whoa, who were those masked handsome men and what the hell happened here? Well, they can't go anywhere else, so they're going to ball up near the entrance of their old hive every time, whether it's up on the soffit or down under the shed. They will ball up near their old home, because that's all they know, they're very landmark oriented, they will die off over the coming days. They never used to be aggressive. Of course, that's changed also. Remnant bees are now showing aggression for up to 2 weeks. So as you guys know, we use our non-toxic spray adhesive to knock them down in midair too, because I realized a long time ago, I don't care if they're dead or not, I just don't want them flying around. Well, non-toxic spray adhesive seizes the wings, drops them, and the ants get them. Great. All right? So we knock down as many as we can, but we have to tell everyone, these are not ants and termites. When we leave, you're still gonna have bees farting around for a week or two, depending on these 2 reasons, remnants and robbers. This is fascinating shit, because in a 3-mile radius, all the beehives know about each other. It's like an HOA from hell. It's in case they can steal honey from each other. They're all enemies of each other. Every hive is an enemy of every other hive. They never go visit each other. If they do, they even smell different, just like ourselves, just humans. Same thing with them. If a bee from this hive goes over to this hive, the guard bees will smell it and either kill it or drive it off. It's only there to steal honey. That's the only reason it's there. So robber bees will be sniffing around also. But that hive is gone and dead, and it'll take them a while to realize that there's nothing to be gained and stop coming back and go do something else somewhere else. So the remnant bees will die off and the robber bees will learn that there's nothing to be had. So what do we got here? Impact on humans and agriculture. So of course, they have, now the old record before a couple of years ago used to be 4 miles that they've chased our fire truck. Because we have a brush truck, you guys know that. 4 miles, and that was out at the slaughter ranch, past the slaughter ranch actually. You know, those ranches, our ranchers out here have endless miles of dirt road, and you have to stop and get out the gate and open the gate, go, you know, drive 15 miles an hour to the next one. 10 miles they chased our truck. 10 miles after a bad removal. Don't jump into water. Okay, again, they attack the CO2 coming out of your nose and mouth. 95% of people that jump into water get killed by them because they will wait for hours. Hours. They will track the bubbles. If you have bubbles come up, every time you come up to breathe, you get a mouthful of bees. It's horrific. It's just absolutely horrible. Every week in this county, they kill a dog, a horse, or a goat. Now, they overpower European hives and other Africanized hives. So if you've got, this is the other way that you're nice, if you're keeping bees in your backyard, don't. They're invasive. Calm down. Anyway, so if you've got a nice European hive in your backyard, there's a neighboring Africanized hive. That Africanized hive, especially a stronger one, because again, not every Africanized hive is the same as every other one. So a strong Africanized hive is looking to steal honey. A lot easier to steal it than make it. So they will come into, especially your nice European docile hive, we call it World War B. You're gonna see it in a second here. They will kill all your bees, sting the pupae to death through the caps on the cells, and either steal all the honey and go home, or much worse, move in. And your hive's gone to shit again. And you can't tell by looking. So this is really interesting what happened in Bisbee. I can't wait for you guys to see that. So when, of course, and now some of this should be common sense, but it ain't so common anymore. When a hive is discovered, and this is whether it's at the neighbors or whatever, like we were talking, warn people, tell people to get away and stay away from them because they will attack, once again, unprovoked, or at least what we perceive as unprovoked. And don't try this at home. For one thing, it used to be with the Office of Pest Management, the OPM, which is under Department of Ag, you guys know what it is, of course, that's what we're licensed under and actually teach for licensing and continuing education. Used to be that if you used a pesticide that you had to be licensed with them. They changed that. Now, it's if you advertise and or charge for any pest removal, you have to be licensed with them. So that sewed up a lot of loose ends and loopholes, all right? So, this is a compilation of removals that we've done, and we're trying to get rid of this whole thought in the general public that, oh, they're just honeybees, like I keep harping on, right? Oh, we need them, just honey, they aren't hurting anyone. Yeah, see what can happen. This was up in Portal. We got a few interesting ones here.
Oh, they're pouring out. There's so many, Reed.
Where are they pouring out of? That's
Down below.
They'll sting through the
She's got a
suit.
damage sting. There you go. All right, come on down. All right, take a peek at it.
Hold on, let me get this off.
All right. And this is just deadly. I mean, this is horrible. Oh, delicious. I gotta get my spray adhesive going here. Man. Killer bees, do not visit at home.
See, they're attacking my neck. This is Wilcox Hospital. Connex. Almost killed the landscape guy. He almost killed the maintenance guy who was mowing.
Push it on, cut you. Put the truck. Oh my God, this is a nightmare. Oh my God, turn up slow.
Complete with bleach.
I've got to get this one, and I've got to get this. We're in a very popular area here, and I've got to get this one taken. It's really ridiculous and dangerous. Yes, sir?
It's really dangerous.
Wood Canyon, Bisbee.
Yeah.
Got something in my ear, I fell in the beat.
Ah.
I'm scared.
Oh, yeah, there's a lot of bees.
Knock him down.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys have seen a lot out in the field. You guys know about what I'm talking about when it comes to this. So, when a feral hive or swarm is discovered and it's already lit up, obviously alert everyone once again. No more of the zigzagging running away. Cover your head and head for cover. That's what we teach. Just cover your head and head for cover. No jumping into water like we already covered. Now, when you're getting attacked, your legs don't give a shit who's above the waist. I've watched guys run off of roofs, run out in front of traffic. It's like, we're out of here. We don't give a shit who's up there. It's not fight or flight. It's flight or flight. We're getting the hell out of here. All right. I've watched guys run right past open truck doors and run down the road thinking that they can outrun these damn things. You can't outrun them. It's better to be trapped inside with a couple hundred than outside with 100,000. But it's kind of hard to think logically when you're, getting attacked by these damn things.
How fast can they fly?
They about 4,200 miles an hour if they're chasing. That's a rough estimate. Okay, anyway. No, they can fly about 15 miles an hour. More, like up to 20 if they're mad for short distance, which is only 40 miles. I swear to God, until you're dead. That's all.
I don't know if that one would be, just like that one.
So this is World War B, the case against managed hives in your damn backyard. Third generation beekeeper here. We had a big day, was that 2 years ago in the spring?
No, it was end of
Last-
summer.
Last
Because
summer.
it was monsoons, you'll see the water running.
Oh, yeah, it was, right, it was last August or something,
Not last August, but I think actually
August before.
three Augusts ago.
Okay, they galloped the gulch up past Elmos and had a hive, third generation, one hive out our back door. They became Africanized due to the bees coming in, killing all of our bees and taking over, all right? We had had a big day already, we were down at the parking lot, got a call from Bisbee Fire and residents. We had a phone lit up, and so we raced up the gulch, and this is what we saw.
I'm gonna back this up a little bit, if you can get some spray adhesive on when I stop.
They're attacking 750 yards from where the hive was.
Yeah, nice, huh? What is yours? Oh. Where's everybody? Okay, Killer Bee Nation, we got a huge attack right now. Up the gulch in Bisbee, someone had a beehive up here. They were keeping, please don't keep bees in Arizona. Where are we going, Harry, further? Yeah, it's up behind. What's going on up there? Beehive up there? All right, what do you this?
Just, I went to, because it's listing with the rain, I haven't written in my
Well, they're all Africanized in the state, as you well know now. All right, is anybody hospitalized yet? No, we haven't. All right, well, we're out of the way back there. There's the police behind us. Perfect. Let's go we're going to kill this hive. You know that. Okay, let's go get a Fendona. Let's and Donor, we gotta put him down. We've got a serious incident here. So you just have the one hive? Yeah. So we're gonna block off the one. Perfect. Might need to go further. Yeah, I'm gonna block in there. Get as close as you can, so when we get her out, we can throw her in. Yeah. Have they got her on her drip yet? No, not yet. Okay. We'll go up with you in a minute. If of course anybody peeks their heads out, tell them to get the hell inside. Posh, we're going to create, there's a patient in this house here, and we need to create a wall of spray adhesive so they can get them into the ambulance. Okay. We're basically going to create a wall, spray adhesive, so they can get them from this house into this ambulance as soon as he gets close enough. Let me know when you're in position. All right, I'm going to give you a minute. I'm going to communicate. Hi, honey, how are you? Yeah, not so hot. All right, we're going to line this up. Now, I'm going to make a wall of safety. All right, with the spray adhesive so we can get you out to the ambulance, okay? The only way to go, of course, is through here. This is spray adhesive, it's not toxic, all right? So we basically drop them like rocks. Okay. And so we're gonna make a wall. As soon as he gets back around close enough and the back door closed, and you guys can get her out, all right? We gotta make sure the dog is out of the way. When they bring her out, all right? You and I are going to walk ahead and to the side. Okay. And we're going to be doing this. We're going to knock him down, knock him down, knock him down. She's already taken a lot of space. Let's get started with that right now. Knock him down, knock him down. You're still going to have a few out here. You're still going to have a few out here. Cover her head. All right, let's go. We're just going to knock him down. We're going to walk it foot. All right, there you go. I'm going to get a little bit behind you and to your side. There you go. Push, stay closer. Stay closer. There you go. You're doing good. You're doing good. Oh, you're doing great. You are. You're doing awesome. Okay, stay good down on the side, on the street level. Push and knock them down near her. Thank you. Thank you. Let's go on the side. Look at that. You get the VIP. You get the VIP treatment. There you go, hon. Hurry. All right, gentlemen. Okay. We're going to go up and kill some bees. All right.
Never guess what I said.
All right, killer condition. We're going to put the kibosh on this side. How far up is it? Let's go ahead and go up. And we're going to make quick work of this, put them down.
That was 750 yards away. Well, we're going to go up and kill this hive now. Yeah, everyone noticed the plants. Okay. This is hours after the initial attack. Of course, that's the spray adhesive, the non-toxic spray adhesive, just craft adhesive. It may not look like we're doing much, but we're knocking down tens of thousands of them.
We're going to be working on a law, actually, where it's illegal to keep bees in any city limits for this week. And did you know these bees are in all the lower 48 states now? When I tell people that we rescue the fire department with these things, this is what I mean. I'm going to pop this off, see if I can get my top horse in my pyroship. Okay, now they're in escape mode. Okay, this is working really well, because now they are escaping in let's get the hell out of here mode. Not, yeah. And I'm hoping that we can continue that down below. And repeat them. In 1998, we had the worst stinging incident in the world to this day. Do you have a hive tool? All right, Killer Bee Nation. Absolutely ridiculous. So we're killing everything. We're trying to knock them down as much as we can. This is working really well.
That's a pyrethrin. They were using contact kill.
Lucky for you, we weren't in Wilk House. There we go. We'll recluse. I'm not going to look at it a long time. your hive tools there. All right, here we go. You have a beautiful yard, by the way.
The adrenaline's off.
Absolutely wonderful. All right. Okay, Hosh?
Yep.
We will be wanting more spray adhesive, of course. Now, this worked so well that I don't even have any on me right now. All right. The problem is where the stinging incidents happened, and I say plural, there, the pheromone is there. And so although that hive is officially dead, there's still a lot of angry white blood cells flying around. Ouch. All right, well, they got her to the hospital, apparently. All right, so this is good. They're actually tapering off. You know what, Hosh, I'm going to get out spray adhesive, knock down these guys. Oh, my God. All right, hive is dead. Yeah, the threat is about at the 85% containment level right now. Okay. How's it looking down there as far as activity? Well, basically from your truck back, there's not really nothing. That's awesome. Then we can continue to knock what do you think of this stuff? That's it. Mr. Booth, how long do you think? Before you can open it up? Yeah, we can open it up. Sundown. To sundown? Yeah. Okay. This is not safe for anybody to walk for sure. Okay. Yeah, it's not the most that I'm worried about. It's that one for that person that's allergic. Yeah. And then they take your house and car and everything else. And then the state of Arizona, it's, you know, the state agencies can believe in that. And I'm not too fond myself. Totally unnecessary. Oh my God. I hope the lady lives. She gets done more than 5 or 6 times, that's for damn sure. Okay, these are just honeybees. You heard the gal. Well, a week ago they were fine. We're gonna wrap this up. Brewery Gulch, beautiful Bisbee, Arizona. It's safe now, you can come visit. For a week. She was in her hive a month ago without a suit on. And they were just as nice as could be. And now she got in her suit. And thank God she put on her suit and tried to, because it was tipping over a little bit, tried to straighten it up. And obviously all hell broke loose. And they sent at least one person to the hospital. So we're going to wrap it up here. Oh, say goodbye. Oh my God, we have had a hell of a day with you guys. You can always go buy some honey, killerweekend.com, and follow us, please. Look at
Gotta keep putting gas in the tank.
On our adventures, there's more.
It's just a good habit, that's all. Yeah. Yeah, don't keep bees. So this, when you guys show up, and we've been working with Kathy Childress over in Benson. She's a nurse. She does training for nurses for medical personnel. And we've been working with her as to this next section. This really pertains to first responders. When you guys show up to a stinging incident, what the hell do you do? This is not a normal thing. It's going to become more normal, unfortunately, and it's going to be all over the country. Of course, us down here in Cochise County, it's becoming a weekly affair, you know, once a month or something. It's way too often is what it is. Well, of course, do you guys have bee suits or just turnouts? You do?
We have some suits, yeah.
Awesome.
I don't know if they're legit suits.
Right. Well, a stinging incident, if you do have suits, oh my God, put them on, because, you know, turnouts are great, and the nets, like you saw everybody wearing, these bees will still get up and under. Our great fear is a rip in the bee suit, because they will find it. They'll leave a pheromone there, says the party's here, right? So, PPE, of course, always. When you drive up to the incident, assess the situation. We drive up to many stinging incidents where they're bouncing off our windshield of our truck 1/3 of a mile or more away. Well, as first responders, you're not just gonna hop out of that fray. They're gonna, that EMT ain't good to nobody, right? So assess the threat level and what they're doing. Are they bouncing off the windshield? Because if they're not, and you get up to the stinging, you know, victim, that's a hell of a lot safer for you guys. But distance is a huge factor, of course. If that stinging victim is 100 yards away, don't jump out and run over to them, because you have a great chance of dying. These bees do not care. And 500 stings will take 2 seconds, literally, when you have 100,000 of them in the air. Get as close as you can to the stinging victim. Everybody here knows about that incident that happened a couple of years ago up on Dragoon Road and 191 where that father-son team got attacked, right? And I don't know who all was on that call. What a nightmare. The son took 300 stings and lived. The father, unresponsive on the ground, covered in bees. And I was told that he was so covered in bees, you couldn't see any skin. Whoa. Well, I don't know if any of you guys were on that, but you were on it. Wow. And now, correct me if I'm wrong, but I heard you guys loaded up the syringes in the truck, ran out and jabbed him in the ass and ran back in.
I left the crew at the truck and I just ran myself.
Oh, it was just you that ran in? Saved his life. And risked yours, which is what we do. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. And you got stung up, of course.
Mhm.
Yeah, everybody did. Then a deputy showed up with a couple of fire extinguishers, correct?
Yep.
And blazed a trail so you could actually go and get him on a stretcher or just into the truck.
He became conscious enough after the epinephrine.
Oh, he could-
I gave him a lot of epinephrine. And he became conscious enough that I could yell at him and help me throw him on the gurney, and then me and the deputy drug him with the gurney to the ambulance.
Wow, what kind of distance was that?
From the,
From
Ambulance?
him to the?
we were able to cut the fence and drive up to him, so it was.
Oh, good.
20 yards.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's what I'm getting at is distance, right? Further away you are, the more chance there is you're not gonna make it back either.
When I got to him, he was completely unconscious. I didn't think he had a pulse.
Right.
But I jabbed him and I went back for more. By the time I got back to him, he was moving around.
Wow, you literally saved his life, he was probably seconds away
Yeah.
from not having a pulse. You know, or he may not have had one at that time. He lived, we did that removal 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And those bees were still so damn mean, my God. They had that big track hole and were tearing that house down. Holy crap, were they mean. 2 weeks later, they were just, it's like they'd never even been touched. You never died, no, you know, they probably lost, that hive lost 20, 30,000 bees that day due to stinging and attacking. It was like they didn't even, it was amazing. But of course, you get 2,000 bees being born in a hive every single day. I call them a worthy opponent, right? Well, you literally saved his life. And so, they got the guy in the ambulance, you got him to Wilcox, right? And I was told by a nurse that everybody in the hospital got stung. They got him in the helicopter, everybody in the helicopter got stung. They got him up to Tucson and everybody up there, these bees don't care. But he was completely covered. And I guess he's still around, isn't he?
Yeah, he came to visit. His son's still farming the land over there.
Oh, he said, really? Did they get some orchards put in, pecans or something?
They did.
Yeah, that's what their whole thing was. Welcome home, right? Welcome, they came from back west somewhere, I think, but anyway. Well, bless your socks, that's the whole point that I'm getting at here is close as you can. And if possible, get on the PA. If you have a responsive person, have them come toward your truck. They need direction. That's what they need. They are so discombobulated by being covered in bees, being attacked. I've had victims tell us that when you're attacked by thousands of bees like that, it's like being on fire and drowning at the same time. Because every time you get stung, anybody who's been stung knows it feels like a cigarette burn that lasts. Well, you're getting stung hundreds, dozens of times, and every time you open your mouth to breathe, you get a mouthful of bees. Autopsies done on stinging victims have found bees in lungs, stomachs. It's horrible. It's just the worst nightmare possible. Get as close as you can, of course. If you can get the person to come to the ambulance, open the door, throw them in, everybody's still gonna get stung. Just be aware of that. All right? So, here's where it comes to you guys. Anaphylaxis, of course, is different than just an allergic reaction, as you know. And administering epinephrine, that was, of course, you saved his life. Corticosteroids, if need be, all right? You guys are the medical personnel on this one. You have to judge each case as it happens and follow your local protocols, of course, all right? And simple things like, it all depends on the condition of the victim, as you guys know. And this is so new. These bees, this insect never existed on this planet before, ever. This is new. We are on the forefront of something that is gonna stay, but when we encounter it, it's a new situation each time. All right? Because you don't know how aggressive they're gonna be, you don't know anything except that a person may be going into anaphylaxis. So, a big thing, of course, is get the stingers out. Now, a stinger is a hypodermic needle. That's what it is. The bee, of course, disembowels herself, goes away and dies, but for up to 5 minutes, autonomously, without that bee, that stinger will pump venom into you for up to 5 minutes all by itself. So if you take tweezers or you grab onto that stinger and you pinch it out, you're getting a full dose. You're just squeezing all that venom into you. That's why we say scrape it out. Scrape hard. Those barbs are in you good, and they keep forcing in. It's like a hydraulic piston. The longer that stinger's in that person, the deeper it goes, and the more venom's pumped into you. It's insidious is what it is. Scrape as many stingers out as possible to reduce the amount of envenomation. All right, and as quickly as possible, of course. Localized reactions, simple things like ice, of course, reduce swelling. You know, we've also had an interesting thing, delayed reaction. We get, as you know, we deal with rural out here, ranchers and cowboys and everything, and we'll get calls all summer from these guys that live outside, work outside, and they'll say, I don't know what's going on, I got stung 4 days ago, and I took Benadryl like you said, and I was fine, and now I'm in the hospital. What in the hell is that about? Delayed reaction. Also, with multiple big stinging incidents, it can have it can exacerbate existing conditions. So if you were pre-diabetic, you're more likely to go full diabetic. Even things like dementia, etc. I don't know if you guys know Nancy Klutz over in Rodeo. They have a cafe over there. And Bill, her husband, well, he passed away from these things. It took them 8 years to kill him. Exacerbated his existing conditions, the poor guy. So, love you, Nancy, if you probably see this. So, follow your local protocols, all right? And so I think that's about it. Yeah. Thank you guys so much. I want to open it up to Q&A. Anybody got any thoughts, comments, etc.?
So like on that Bisbee incident.
Pardon?
That Bisbee incident, you went in and killed the hive.
Yep.
You just sprayed it with adhesive and.
Well, we sprayed, yes, now what we were spraying, we use pyrethrins primarily, all right, which are, you know, pesticide that is contact kill. And of course, everything according to label, you know that. It's safe enough to use in nursing homes and schools, but it's a contact kill for anything with 6 legs and an exoskeleton, right? And so, crack and crevice is what we usually use. We also do have our residuals that will be used, so any bees coming back from the field, if they land on it, because bees taste through their feet, and so they will absorb a lot through their feet. And so they can absorb the residual deltamethrins, or with the, we use cypermethrin with the Fendona is the brand name that we use, of course. That's what we were using to kill that, to knock that hive down, contact kill.
So you just sprayed it and called it good, right?
Yep, pretty much, yep.
I guess, because I'm not an expert, how did you know it was good?
Oh, well, that's the thing. That's why we explain to everyone about the remnant bees. Because it's not, you know, people always ask me, how many days will it take? How will I know when it's safe when I can go out there? I said, oh, you'll know it's safe. There won't be any, you know? And so when we immediately leave any of these removals, we have to explain to the homeowner or the people or the neighbors, here's what to expect. All right? And that's every single time. Because it's like herding cats, like I was saying before. You're not going to get them all. That's all there is to it. You're just not going to get them all. Also, that attack pheromone in the air, we're seeing the remnant bees being super aggressive. And unfortunately, even robber bees, bees that don't belong to that hive, because it's all pheromone oriented. It's all pheromone oriented. Yep. Questions, yeah?
Yeah, so the foam that we carry on our engines, historically, we've used that
Yes.
as an option to knock them down.
Absolutely.
That works?
Yes. We don't use soapy water anymore. The foam, they breathe through spiracles on their sides, and it suffocates them, basically. It coats the bee and suffocates them. We don't use soapy water anymore. If you look at some of the old stuff that I've done, like Nat Geo, Discovery Animal Planet, all that stuff, right? You used to have a power washer, you used to use a smoker. Well, these bees don't give a shit about smoke. They just don't care, so why carry something on the truck I'm not gonna use? Power washer, didn't take me long to realize that soapy water and drywall don't go together too well. And I had way too many customers going, you know, we'd leave, they'd be up in the soffit, and they called me 3 days later and said, my ceiling fell in on my bed. Oh, shit. So that's why over these decades, I've developed these systems and these ways of dealing with these hives and these deadly invasive species. Yeah, but in instances like that, yeah, absolutely. Have they changed the foam out now so it's safer to use for firefighters?
I think that's
yeah.
more likely to be.
Yeah, okay.
Any lawsuits?
A lot of, who cares? Spray the damn thing. Yeah.
So every couple months around my house, you know, I get the jug of bug spray or whatever from Walmart, and I spray around my house. Would that work in a swarming bee situation?
Not with
Yeah,
our,
like ortho home defense, like, you know,
yeah,
has a fog
not,
spray on it.
no, because for one thing, now they've gotten a lot better with the labeling as far as bees go. In the past, there was not a pesticide that existed that had bees on the label. Wasp and hornets, yes, because they were revered, oh, they're honeybees, you know. Well, that's changed, thank God. Because now we can actually use, as licensed professionals, we can use products that have bee on the label, all right? That is the problem with a lot of the home stuff that you see at your hardware store and whatnot, is this, A, not listed for it, and B, it's not gonna work. Also, if you don't have a bee suit on, you don't know what you're gonna do, and you're gonna die. They're coming at you, you might get, 40 or 50 dead, but you've got thousands coming at you from all sides. That's the problem, these things, it's all in go, you're swimming in them. You're literally swimming in them. On our YouTube channel, we're filming in 360 now, 360 degrees. So if you have a VR headset, make some popcorn and get some Depends, because you're gonna need them, okay? I mean, if you have just your phone or a touch screen, you can scroll around, you can look above, below, behind, you control the camera with the 360, all right? It really shows you how immersed you are in, it's like diving, it's surrounded around. So, we always have to tell people, this is not a DIY channel. Put down the spray adhesive and step away from the beehive, behave yourselves, okay? It's always DIY, I can do that, you're gonna kill somebody, or the neighbor. So, anyway, no, yeah, don't try this at home type of deal. Yes?
So, not the adhesive. Oh, so for like, the swarms that, because it seems like we're getting to around that time frame where you have a lot of swarms moving. Historically, I've told a lot of people, like, they're gonna be passing through the area,
Right.
we won't go kill them.
Right.
Should we now just go kill them?
Well, yeah, that's changed also, especially with the level of aggression that swarms have been exhibiting. So last summer, we got a call from BFD, right? Wasn't it last summer up up Main Street? Bisbee Fire gives us a call 8 a.m. Sunday morning and says, we're en route to a stinging incident, can you meet us? It happens all the time. Yeah, sure, where? Out in front of the Bisbee Grand on Main Street. What the hell? Said, yeah, I said, what's the count? Said, 4 victims, 4 stinging. Okay, holy shit. So we go down, and it turned out, it was not a hive. It was a cloud, a swarm, flying up Main Street, veered off and attacked 4 people unprovoked. Also, it was a swarm of bees that killed Dan down in Bisbee. It was not a hive, it was a ball of bees hanging in a tree. And he got on his backhoe and was gonna tap the tree about 15 feet away from where they were. Tap the trunk, try to get them to go away, and they killed him. So the honeymoon's over. So what we tell people now is when you have a ball of bees hanging in a tree, A, it's a lot safer to get rid of them and a hell of a lot cheaper. So, and there's no guarantee they're gonna go away. 50% or more of the swarms we're removing from tree limbs, like you saw in that pecan, they're building right there in front of God and everybody. Also, if they do leave, where the hell do they go? If they went under your shed, well, that's even worse. If they went under your neighbor's shed, you still have bees. We always preach now to everyone. If your neighbor has bees, you have bees. They don't know fences and boundaries. That one hive is gonna put out 30 new hives a year. You're gonna be calling us eventually. Also, on top of all that other shit, If a kid walks by and throws a rock at that damn thing and gets stung, you're liable. So, no, honeymoon's over, get rid of them. Yeah, so that's the current and most accurate, it's the safest also, you know. So, yeah, honeybees, not good, not good. Yeah.
Reed, we have a question online that ties into all this too, this was pertaining to the Bisbee Gulch incident, but
Yeah.
we deal with this in all of ours. Why do you use the adhesive first to knock them down before you use the pyrethrum?
Good, that's actually a good question. Why would we use it's a very simple answer also. So I developed this method, all these methods, actually, people ask me, you know, where'd you come up with all this stuff? And it was because there was no book to learn from. I stayed alive over the years, basically. And people, of course, you know, I'm always joking around, people will ask me, you know, where did I learn this stuff? And I tell them, well, I have a doctorate from MSU. And they're like, really, Michigan, Mississippi? I said, no, making shit up. It's my doctorate, man. So anyway, so non-toxic. The spray adhesive is non-toxic. We can spray it in the air, and honestly, about that far especially in the desert Southwest, that far from the nozzle, the droplets of adhesive dry and drop. But in that distance, you can knock down many, many bees. So spray it in the air, seizes their wings, they drop on the ground. We're not gonna be spraying pesticides all over the damn place. At all. You know, there is no fumigant that we're gonna use. I don't even use a bulb with powder in it anymore. Now we have powders that are aerosol, go on wet and dry, and it's a residual powder. Awesome. No more pesticide in the air. Perfect, right? So it's mainly toxicity. Good question though, good question though. Yep. Anybody got any other thoughts?
So are you actually removing anything, or are you just spraying everything?
We're killing everything.
No, but are you actually removing anything?
Oh, yeah, well, okay, this is another reason that spray adhesive came up. All right, we take the money and the honey, okay, if possible. First thing, of course, mitigate the threat. That's the first thing, safety first. If possible, I realize that if there's honey to be had, because of course you guys have seen us tear up sheds and everything, and there'll be a whole bunch of comb under there, never been touched. If we spray pyrethrins on it to kill the bees, well, we're gonna throw it away. So, especially if we're out in the middle of nowhere and there's no threat to anyone else, if we use the spray adhesive and knock all the bees down, just take the honey. You know, so that's where that whole thing came from. Take the money and the honey.
So like the ones that were in the trees by the millions?
Yeah, we used spray adhesive on that and took the honey. Yeah,
Oh, there
that
was honey
pecan
in
tree,
that?
you mean that pecan?
The ones that were all on the limbs and everything?
Yeah, on the pecan, oh, that one.
The
Okay, well,
swarm.
that one, we actually, oh my God, that was way too many, didn't have, there wasn't enough spray adhesive made in the world to get rid of that huge swarm. He's talking about that huge swarm that was in that tree. We actually, it was so weird. We took, I think it was 5 or 7 huge leaf bags and just kept putting them up under and knocking them in and sealing them up and killed them that way. There was no other way really, it's just get as many as you can in there and then knock down the remaining ones. With a normal swarm like this, what we do is, and again, this is not a DIY channel, damn it. All right, with a normal bee swarm like this, they are like an onion, okay? They're like a bomb that can go off, literally, and they can be extremely aggressive. So we'll go up to it, and what we'll do is use our spray adhesive to create a shell. We spray that whole thing so that they can't explode. It's a shell then. Then we'll take our directed crack and crevice pyrethrin, stick it in the middle, and kill them from the middle out. And then drop them into a bucket. Of course, any that fall on the ground, the ants get them anyway.
So for us, we go do a bee extermination, don't call you, right? There's a hive in the barbecue, whatever. How important is it for us to, once we've knocked down the bees, to scrape out the comb, put it in a bag, trash it, or is leaving it there a problem? Or
Yes,
should we
yes, and this is actually with established hives especially and non-emergencies, non-stinging incidents, all right? You have them give us a call. We guarantee all removals for 2 years. The reason we have to do that is, again, pheromones. Pheromones are just smells, there's millions of them. It's not just venom, of course. wherever they have been, like an old barbecue, we're putting the bee back in barbecue. Wherever, it gets worse. You see it at the end of the day, it's like, wherever they've attached that comb, it'll soak in, the pheromones will soak into concrete, metal, wood, whatever, under floors and whatnot. That will attract new swarms into the future. And if you leave all that comb there, even if the ants get all the honey out, that's beeswax, that doesn't go anywhere. Well, that's a furnished apartment. And a new swarm flying by, oh, damn right, they're gonna move right in. That's a ready-made. So that's why it's really a specialized niche in the whole, not only extermination, but first responder industry. It's a whole new thing in the world, actually, as far as protecting people from these things. So if there's been no incident yet, just have them give us a call. And of course, you know, we service everything. We have to go up to San Simon after this. Oh, lovely San Simon. Does anyone need anything from San Simon? Just screwing with you. There's nothing in San Simon. Okay, less than nothing in San Simon. A couple of single wides. You can marry into a single wide in San Simon, actually, right? Complete with kids. And I mean, seriously, you know, complete with kids, a dog, maybe a goat if you're lucky. Yeah. Anybody got
More thoughts for a swarm the size of that super swarm that you guys had? Something that big, like if we rolled up on that, you know, and
call me.
Yeah. like is that something we should even attempt to say, if it's not attacking, that we should even flow water at to try and kill water foam? Okay.
No, that's just too much. You know, the liability's too high.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just unknown territory. You know, it really is. Yeah. And also, you guys, even in the field, I got my phone with me all the time. You know, we get calls from fire departments all over the country now saying we're en route to a stinging incident. What do we do when we get there? And I have to tell them, don't get out of the truck. I'll go through the same protocols that I established here. You know, get out of the truck. Don't do that. You know, they'll kill you too. You know, so it's a new uncharted territory. And it's all over the country now. These damn things have been documented in Ontario and Alberta. They adapt and change every year. So Hosh put it the best one time when he said that wherever European honeybees can survive, these guys can thrive. They do better. They're a better bee. They're better invasive species. They're deadly invasive species. Yeah.
Our turnouts versus bee suits?
Bee suit be better. Too many holes and cracks in the turnouts. Yep, that's what it boils down to. You know, you got your net you can drape over if you have them. It's still a drawstring. They're going to crawl right in. They're looking for a hole. They're digging around, trying to find a way to get you. That's all there is to it. And you've got, now they're getting so that they're clinging to our bee suits and stinging through them. Jesus, what's next, you know? I mean, we have cooling vests that we wear underneath because, of course, the summer around here, you know how that is. And when you're in the bee suit and you get overheated, you can't just take it off and cool off. You're gonna die, you know? So it's a real battle. It really is. They're a worthy opponent. Yeah. All right, other thoughts? We're looking good. Thank you, gentlemen, so much. Appreciate it. Thank you, everybody out in Killer Bee Nation land. We love you guys. Again, got to put gas in the tank. Go to killerbeeguy.com and get some honey. Do it now. Okay, do it again. Okay, do it again anyway. Okay. Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right, very good.
All right, see you later, Killer Bee Nation.
For the rest of us, we'll do some, we'll see how many we're staying. We'll do some, maybe a drill and then do some dodgeball.